when you're asked to find an equation of a line, as soon as you see those words, find the equation, I immediately, and this is what I suggest that you do as well, you need to write the words, I need. Because there are two things that you will need in order to find this equation. One of them is the slope. You must find the slope of the point, or between the 2 points, or any points on the line, and you must have a point. If you have the slope of this line, and you have a point that is on this line, then we will be able to find the equation. So as soon as you see those words, find the equation, just think to yourself and write it down. I need a slope and a point. I find if you do this every single time, even when you get the hang of it, you'll find that it will help you and you'll hold on to the knowledge longer. So the slope between these, or any 2 points on this line, are we given that information? And the answer is yes. The slope of this line is 3. So good. And do we have a point that's on this line? Yes, we do. The point is 2, 10. Now I'm going to solve this particular problem 2 different ways. This first way, I'm going to use the slope-intercept form of a line. Slope-intercept form. And remember that slope-intercept form looks like this. Y equal to mx plus b. And if I had the slope and I had the y-intercept, then I would actually be done. I just plug the slope in for m, I plug the slope or the y-intercept in for b, and I'm done. I have the equation. However, you can see here that this point, 210, is obviously not the y-intercept because it does not have an x-coordinate of 0. If this was 0, 10, then we would be good. So what I'm missing in this equation, I need the slope, which I already have. I need the y-intercept. So I'm going to use the information I'm given, the slope, I'll plug that in for 3. I'll plug 2 and 10 in for y and x because that is a particular coordinate that satisfies this equation. And then I'll solve for my missing piece, the y-intercept. So I will have, well, let me write this first. Y equal to m, I know my slope, it's 3. So I'll have 3x plus b. If I could somehow get this y-intercept, then I would have my equation. Well, it turns out I have an x and a y, a particular x and y, that satisfies this equation. So I'm going to plug that in. I'll plug 10 in for y. I'll plug 2 in for x. And now if I solve for b, that's the only possible, once I solve for b, that's the only possible b that will satisfy this equation because it needs to have a slope of 3. And this point, this x and y, needs to be able to be plugged into this equation and have both sides be true. So I get 10 equal to 6 plus b. And when I subtract 6 from both sides, I'm going to get b equal to 4. So my equation, I have my slope, I have my y-intercept. So my equation is y equal to 3x plus 4. And now you can see if you were to plug this value, this point, 210 into here, you would get 3 times 2 plus 4, that is 10. So it would work. This is the only value, this 4 is the only value that satisfies this equation. Now let's see how we would solve it using the point-slope formula. I'm now going to use the point-slope formula to find the equation of this line. So what I'm going to do first is show you how we get point-slope formula. And it's just a rearrangement here of the slope formula. So we know that y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, that's equal to m. That's our slope. And that's a formula you need to know. If you multiply both sides by this whole thing here, this x2 minus x1, if we pick that up and multiply both sides, it would be eliminated on this side, but it would be multiplied by m over here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick that x2 minus x1 up, I'm going to move it to the other side, and I'll get y2 minus y1 equal to m times x2 minus x1. And keep in mind that when we are solving for a line, we want to have a y and an x in our equation. When we're solving for the equation, we want a y and an x. So to make this easier, I don't need to plug in two different y's and two different x's and my slope. That would be pointless. That would be getting back. We know these two sides are equal already. So I need to have an x and a y left over. So I can erase this little y2 here and erase that x2. And now if I have one point, a particular y1 and an x1 and a slope, then I can plug those in, solve this for x, and I have my equation. And that's what I'm going to do. So this is the formula right here, the point-slope formula. And the point-slope formula is another way that we can find equations of lines. So once again, as soon as you see those words, find the equation, we need two things. We need a slope and we need a point. And it just so happens, once again, since we've already seen this problem, we're given two of those things. In future problems, you might not be given the slope directly as here's the slope, but you're going to be given enough information in the problem to do one or two things to find the slope, but that is still to come. So my slope, as we saw, is 3. The point is 2, 10. So I'm going to plug that into my formula here. So I'll have y minus y1 equal to m x minus x1, just the rearrangement of the slope formula. My y1 is 10, so this is my y1, my x1, and this is my m. So I'll have y minus 10 equal to 3 x minus 2. And now, depending on how the problem is worded, you could leave it like this because technically this is a equation and it has a slope of 3 and it travels through the point 210, but for the most part you will be asked to simplify this and put it to slope-intercept form, which means if we solve this for y, which isn't too hard, we just need to distribute the 3 and then add the 10. So when we distribute the 3, we get 3x minus 6. And when we add the 10, we'll get y equal to 3x plus 4, because negative 6 plus 10 is 4. Yet another way that we can find the equation of a line by using this point-slope formula, but the same techniques are the same. If you find the equation, write down what you need. You will need a slope, you will need a point. You find those two things, you plug them into either formula, either the slope-intercept form to find your intercept, or to plug them into your point-slope form and just solve for y. Both are equally acceptable.